These in order for a reason? I don't know.
What are you doing?
Hillary can just have it.
Okay. We can always share.
We could turn it off.
They're pretty, they pick up pretty well. Okay, that's,
Well, I never do, but if I need to, I will.
this one's your, yes, yes. Should we start?
Time to go.
Okay.
Oh, is this a new one?
Oh, it's just.
Just that? Oh, okay. I'll put that in the-
Good morning. This is the Syracuse Landmark Preservation Board meeting of August 22nd. Present at this meeting are
Our Trish.
Cole Fragnito.
Julia Marshall,
Jeff Romano.
Hillary Donahue. Martha Hertzberg, Corporation Counsel's Office.
Kate Auwetter.
thank you. May I have a motion to accept the minutes of August 1st?
So moved.
Is there a second? Yes. Okay. Any modifications to the minutes? None? All in favor of the minutes as submitted?
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstentions? Minutes are adopted. The board will now conduct the public hearing on today's agenda. First, the applicant or the applicant's representative will be invited to describe the proposed scope of work and to present any material or documentation regarding the proposal to the board. Next, persons wishing to speak in favor of the proposal will be given the opportunity to address the board. Then, persons wishing to speak in opposition will be allowed to address the board. Finally, the applicant or representative will be given the opportunity to make closing comments to the board. Following each public hearing, the board may vote to approve with conditions, or deny the application just heard. The board may also decide to hold its decision until the next public hearing. If the hearing is closed, no additional information will be allowed in the record except for the information the board may request. That information will be available for public review with board staff. Kate, do you want to introduce the first application?
Sure. Our first and only public hearing this morning is CA 2417, a certificate of appropriateness for 100 Windsor Place. It is for demolition of a raised storage/patio structure. This house is in the Berkeley Park Preservation District.
Hello, everyone. My name is Frank Cusimano. I'm here representing Dr. Jamin Brown for his residence at 100 Windsor Place. Dr. Brown is looking to demolish the structure that sits at the southwest corner of the residence. Currently is a raised patio with a storage area below that interconnects with the basement area along this transition right here. Currently, it's a stone paver system that sits on a concrete deck with basically full brick width walls. Currently, we have a structural report out there that you guys all have. It shows some deterioration of this slab from below with the reinforcement. Some deterioration on the inside, the brick, where it's failing. And this wall on the north side of the patio area is basically, so this grade and drainage that hits here sits on this wall and is creating failure for that wall currently. Which is why I see the brick here inside. Same with the patio area, the water sits on there, deteriorates, goes through, deteriorates the concrete, and our inside exposed, so it's deteriorating from the inside. As well in the front, not sure.
There you go. You can make it smaller too.
Oh,
Yeah, but yeah, there you go. take a minute to load. Yeah, there you go.
So, currently you can see the water washing down on the front of this as it overflows on, into the front, creating, some variation with their bubble window system. So they had to reinforce on the inside with some CMU block and some, reinforced. I think it's so at the window, it kind of goes in a little bit, you can see there. So that could create failure in the header as well. Calendar system as well. Currently, so the house dates back, I believe it's 1928. And I'm assuming it seems like because of the brick difference. This is between the house and that front portion of the house. So that, I believe, was an addition. So that portion the patio portion that sits on the outside also has a bit of brick, which I believe was done at a later time and then connected to the basement. So the client's concern is obviously the safety. He has children, they play in the driveway, out and stuff, and it's just been crumbling down. So there is a huge safety concern for it. And also there's I don't have the picture in here. However, in front here, there's a big drainage issue. So without this here, it'll help that drainage system, and we'll build that up so we have some positive drainage going away from the house. So the proposal is to obviously demolish it, but in kind, we'd like to demolish this whole structure, and then in kind replace this. We make it a retaining wall, basically. You make it a concrete pour wall, and then we'd finish it out with a brick veneer to basically match the existing house rather than the brick that was on it. We tried to kind of match the brick, so this would kind of be placed along that north end and do a rallying system above that. Because the grade sits back there, so that grade needs to fall and hit something, the walls to provide some proper drainage back there. And that is currently, so the client currently has a site proposal out there, and he's working with a site designer right now to basically create that whole area that you see on this whole area here. So that will kind of be a part of that drainage program. This was currently approved for a permit to do all the work. That section here, this section of the wall, that's pretty much it. I mean, that's the project. I mean, any questions?
Any board members have questions, ask for clarifications?
Yeah, is there anything under the patio that sits adjacent to it?
As far as over here, or there, this
No,
connects
over
over
here,
here.
next to it.
Oh, on this side? No, it's just all landscape, and it drops down to a hill.
No, the patio.
To the north there.
Oh.
So that right behind,
Yeah,
Is that
it's
anything-
it's all pretty much, grass area right now.
So you're saying the retaining wall is gonna hit back here,
Yeah, so the retaining wall is gonna replace this wall that's gonna be taken out.
so the patio will be on the back side of that, from a drainage standpoint, how's that?
That'll just be, I believe it's a grass area, so it'll be, yeah, it'll rest against. You can see this, yeah.
Flagstone, it looked like it's flagstone.
Circular section of the wall, so that, the grade would hit the wall on that side, on the north side of that wall. And it slopes down from there, and then hits another wall that's currently there.
Was that, wall, looked like it was poured, that poured and then brick veneer on the patio?
I believe it's a full width, like, brick wall.
Oh, with poured
Yeah,
and then
yes.
veneer.
Not veneer, yeah, just be a full. Which is why it's failing on, so just picture that north wall, on this side here, existing, just picture that being all brick. So brick is very porous, so anything that, goes through it's basically deteriorating the brick.
Are you changing the grade at the upper level? If you could enlarge that section. Will it enlarge? Yeah. Is that a different grade? Where's the original grade?
The original grade is, so basically the patio, actually, so I got the height of the existing patio floor right here.
Okay,
So, yeah, so we're dropping this down and stepping it. So you can see the lower step here, with that
Okay.
wall dashed in. So, that grade at that lower wall basically sits here as it slopes down. So it would expose some of the brick on that side. Just a little bit. We don't want to put it right up to the,
so the height of the cap to the driveway would end up being that?
yes,
Yeah, okay.
at the highest point. Yeah. So,
I think you might have issues with your railing, with your step down, depending on where the grade is.
Yeah, on this side, I mean,
Yep.
yeah, I kind of played with it where, it's actually sloping down like.
The grade change on that, is that drastic? We're
Not
going-
really.
We're going from 6 feet to 4 feet or so?
Yeah. Yep. That's the lower wall right there. Over like.
So what's the grade slope? I guess my concern is where you're stepping down the railing, and where grade is.
Oh, right, which is why I stepped it, so the railing may have to turn at this point as well, so you're not. If that's where yeah.
Yeah, I think that
I believe
differential.
currently in their proposal for the site plan itself, the overall site work, they plan on, doing brick along this wall, and I believe there's a plan to do the railing as well.
So Kate,
So
as
it would
far
match.
as this application, is it just for the demolition, or is
It
it
is just for the
Yes.
demolition,
not for
demolition
the
only.
design of the rail?
No. Oh,
Okay,
Oh, no,
Well,
it
that's-
should be for
Okay.
the
Rail.
design of the rail
Okay.
as
Yeah,
well.
this is-
Everything,
Alright.
yeah, everything is
That's a
included.
major, that's a
Yeah.
major component.
Oh, well, that's what I want to make sure, because I think that might be an issue in terms of how that rail is resolved in relationship to the slope of the grade on that new patio, where the retaining wall is.
Right.
I was thinking along the same lines that the step, I think, is out of step with the design of the house itself. Was there any thought given to just a straight wall? across and
I-
letting the grade fall back naturally, and then you don't have to worry about that railing issue?
So, you mean, so raising this up to the height of the rail?
You can keep the rail, but just keep raise the lower step to match the greater mass of the
Oh,
wall.
absolutely. Yeah, there wasn't, I wanted to do that at first, but then I felt it needed to basically, when it turned this corner, that would have beat up with that other wall. Kind of have it, to kind of follow that grade, but also, rather than not having a low wall and then a high wall when you're coming around that
It
corner.
might work better if
I think it's,
you look at the different, you might need an intermediary step within the railing,
right.
so that you can turn the corner. Obviously, you need to turn the corner because it's lower, but the step between the high and the low is incongruous.
I was also thinking about angling it, but then that really doesn't go at all with the linear.
You might need to have a third step in it instead of just two.
Yeah, so Julie, so I think the grade kind of is in this area, which is why that came to there. So, yeah, if I had another step.
I mean, you're manipulating the grade anyway,
We're,
so.
we're playing with the grade, so we can definitely
Okay.
look into that.
In keeping with that concept, the step, that might be mitigated, because you're proposing a 36-inch railing, so you meet code. But if you raised the wall cap kind of in line with the head of the garage as it was previously, then you'd have a higher step, yeah. You'd have a higher step.
And then come down.
Well, I think that could be a consistent line, and then your railing at that point could be a 24-inch or,
I gotcha.
right?
So basically the wall would be the railing on this side.
Correct.
And then-
Right.
And then you'd still have the same design.
Right, so picture this height of the rail as the top of the wall. That's, gotcha. Yeah, that could. At first, my thoughts were, yeah, let's replace that in kind and go the full height of that. But I just thought it would be too obtrusive to have a huge wall rather than open it up.
If there's no other clarification from the board, I'd like anyone from the public, if you have comment, in favor to come forward. Those in wishing to speak in opposition to the project? Shall we close the comment? We're going to close the comment period and close the public hearing? Nope. Well, you have to vote, yes. May I have a motion for the application? Right, we can deliberate
Make
after
it
the
a motion and then
motion.
deliberate.
For the motion.
Or if there are more questions. So.
Anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the project. No?
Just a motion to close the public hearing, correct?
No.
I'm sorry.
You just closed comment.
Closed
Closed
comment,
comment.
Now
okay.
you're ready, if
Yes.
you don't have any more clarifications from the applicant, then you can make a motion and then deliberate on the motion and vote.
So may I have a motion to close public
You
comment?
don't
Oh,
need to make
no.
the
All right.
motion, you just close it.
I'll close it.
Yeah, it's close.
Okay, it's closed. Okay.
It is absolutely closed.
Sorry.
All right.
So now, there can be a motion actually on the application, and then there's discussion, further discussion.
Right.
And if there needs to be some revision to that, to the motion, we can do that at that point, and then there can be a vote.
I do have one other question before, in terms of the design of that wall. Was there any thought, like on the original wall, you have a concrete base, curb, and now you're taking the brick all the way down to the base? So that wall was designed with two datum lines that were pretty strong, and that's kind of eliminated. Any consideration for looking at those datum lines? when you come back with the retaining wall.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why we couldn't, because if that is, if it will be driveway going up against it, it may make sense to do that. If it's a landscape grass, I don't know if it's gonna be grass or not, but if it is, then maybe, maybe that goes away.
If it's
Just
up
becomes
against
part of the
driveway,
whole
right.
wall with the grade and stuff. But, yes, I see your point, and I think with the driveway, it would make sense to have that, in that water table.
Any other comments? Well, particularly because it's a face brick.
I was gonna say, is this a veneer brick or a full width brick that's gonna be applied to the wall?
I'm
The
thinking-
section showing full width.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a full, well, I think we'll go with full.
Right, so then your section on A101, you need almost a brick shelf to support that weight. Your section shows that it's just resting on
Yeah.
the
it would.
driveway, so
It
you,
would at the bottom, like Julie said, with having that water table, it's also, put an angle,
Well,
Oh, you
basically a
put an
shelf,
angle there?
a shelf angle?
you get shelving.
shelf angle to support, okay. There's no proposal for like a man door on that side of the garage wall that's gonna be exposed? And that'll be treated the same way?
For now, I think we're just gonna leave it, to the owner's discretion.
Any other comments? Can you describe the railing? The railing that you're proposing at the top of the wall?
Yeah, so the intention of the railing, is to match, so right now, I don't think we have a spec for the railing itself, as it, it's matched whatever is proposed for the site, design. So I would have to come back to you and
Okay, so
get that for you.
we would take that out of the application if,
Yeah, or it could be subject to staff review if, to submit the, so I'm sorry, are you saying that there's going to be another, there's more
Well, currently there's.
site work being done?
Yeah,
Or
currently there's the permit for the site work, so I.
so
there
you're
is
trying, you're
a-
going to match it to
Exactly.
what's been approved already
Yes.
for the rest of the site?
Exactly.
Okay, okay.
So I would have to
so-
get that spec for you, whatever
Okay.
that is, or we just, if there isn't that railing, like we said, we do a cap on it. And then, don't do the railing, depending on how high that is.
well, you're going to
I
need a
would like to-
railing.
I would love to do the railing though, because it just makes sense.
I mean, by code, you're going to need a railing because of
Yes,
the,
we are,
so
it'll be too high with the cap.
if you're trying to match to something else that we haven't seen,
The board, this would be a board-approved railing for the other, probably on the
site.
other,
For the
on the
other
other
part.
site,
It's
yeah.
like 18 months ago or so?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So whatever's in that, that's my fault, I probably should have grabbed that for you guys.
Will it look like the railing that is being replaced, or is there going to be an attempt to try to match?
No,
Big
that's
thing.
why I'm saying that.
No.
that
Yeah, I apologize if I
there's-
missed that.
Yeah, no, it's the brand new railing.
Or will it look like the railing that's there?
Oh, no,
Does it
it's,
attempt to look like those balustrades, it's going to be just
Yeah, it's just
modern
a metal-
looking?
It's just a metal railing.
Okay.
Well, it's what you're showing
Yeah,
right
wrought
there
iron.
in that
Yeah,
bottom
okay.
drawing.
It'd be a wrought iron railing, match, whatever.
Is it wrought iron?
Yeah,
Okay.
the plan.
Have just, can you describe the interface of where the garage wall juts out, where it abuts the patio, and how that's going to be treated? So if you look at photo 11, just help me understand how that patio connects to that flat roof that covers the garage doors there. It's kind of like
In this area here.
a, correct.
Yeah, so I think the plan is to infill the current opening that's going into the basement, and it'll get the same brick as this wall here.
Right, but this looks like the roof engages into the retaining wall, or is that a wall of the house?
So, yeah, so the roof kind of ends there, and the baluster kind of sits up against it. So what I plan to do is extend the roof on this side to kind of match, so there's a balance
So if you look at photo 2, there's kind of maybe about a 2-foot wide wall that separates the garage door space to the curved return wall, PH 102. Yeah, right there. Yeah, if you can enlarge that, does that wall go away,
Yes.
or is?
Yeah, actually, wait, is this no, this doesn't go away. Yes, that does go away, sorry. So so in here, there's a opening. So this whole thing will be capped off and then it will overhang the roof area.
You could just draw it out. Two, just 2 fingers and go opposite directions with them to enlarge it.
That wall is part of the retaining wall,
Yes,
not part
so
of the
that,
house.
that wall is part of
This raised
that-
patio
that
complex.
garage area. So we probably chop it down and then basically go over that with the roof. So it's overhanging, so it creates an overhang rather than just dying into it. So it actually protect that portion of the wall.
So the wall will be under that over.
Exactly, you got it.
It's in a photo 11.
It's hard to see in photo 11. There you go.
Yeah, so that basically, that railing would be gone. Like I said, if we chop down to the level of the height of the top plate of the garage, wherever that falls, and then the roof would overhang to protect that portion.
Photo 11. There's a wall in the back here.
Back.
Yeah.
That's the grade, that's that north wall.
So all that's gonna go.
That's where that grade is coming down.
And that's probably, that looks like where you're gonna put the retaining.
Pretty much, so the railing was actually, the top of the wrought iron railing was actually almost at, basically at that. It'd probably be a little bit. If Julia's saying where the grade falls. Cause that, we can work with that grade back there.
Might be easier to see from the aerial what's going on with that connection. If you can enlarge it.
That wall here is obviously stuck totally through. So that railing would sit here, and my plan was to step it as the grade is going. You still have that form of a wall with a railing, but to match the overall.
May I have, if there are no other questions, may I have a motion to accept this application? Or motion on the application, sorry.
And to approve the, just a
If
motion?
that's, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, go, if that's.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the application.
Second? Second. Okay. The only thing I would like to add is the datum lines of, that we talked about in terms of at the base and also aligning with the header of the garage door, as in the original. I think that would help in terms of the scale, as well as looking at the configuration of the railing as it steps down the slope. Any other?
I don't
comment?
feel I have sufficient information. I think that some details just seem unclear to me. You know, what happens on the backside of that patio space, how that wall is installed, the connection, I hear what you're saying on how you're gonna do it, but I don't have anything tangible to relate to see that, except for the little sketch on A101 where it just shows the return. There's no detail spoken to that, so that's my hesitation.
Okay.
Which side, were you talking about the north side that we were talking about?
Yeah, right, the north retaining wall
Yep.
on that patio, I see the section, but how that interacts with the existing house wall, the east wall, the west wall of the house, and how that new infill corner ties in around on the front. I hear your explanation, but I don't see it executed in a sketch or a drawing. So maybe that's just a clarification that he can send in. Yeah. Make it part of make it part of the motion.
If you want to amend your motion to
Okay.
request to include the datum lines and to have staff review the additional details? Because in whole, are you comfortable with the design?
Yes, I am. Some of the details make the job. So how it connects, how it ties in, I think I'd like to see a little more clarification.
So do you want to amend your motion and
Yep, I'll amend my motion to include the revisions we just talked about, the further clarification on the drawings, the details we just talked about.
That's okay with the second?
That's okay with me.
Great.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Any abstentions? The resolution passes. Thank you.
Yeah, just so I'm clear, so you're talking about this area in particular?
Correct. Yeah. I'd like just to see that detailed and how that returns, comes around and covers and ties into the new existing, or the new retaining wall at the existing corner.
Frank, if you can provide the details that were requested to Kate, Kate can review it for you as part of the application.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Kate, do you want to introduce the next?
So we're on to old business, but the application Z 2870, which is a project plan review for 727 Comstock Avenue, has been withdrawn by the applicant. So we'll be able to move directly on to new business, which is a minor site plan review, 300-20 Erie Boulevard West, also known as the Niagara Mohawk Building and/or National Grid Building. The project is to replace the main entrance doors and make alterations to some of the signage. And the property is listed on the National Register of Historic Places.
Good morning. My name's Lynn Kozak. I'm architect for Nelson Associates. Our company does a lot of work for National Grid, and I was actually hired last year to take a look at these doors. As you can see, well, back up, a little bit of history on the building. This building was built in 1930s in the Art Deco style. They have had in the 70s and 80s, they've had leaking problems and started restoration and to stop the water leakage. This continued until about 2014. They did a major capstone project on it, so this is the history of the building. Anyways, so now to go to the entrance. We were called in because these doors have pivot hinges with closers, and they're recessed into the threshold, and they just have continuing problems with those. So we were originally called in to take a look at those. JM Doors was going to come and remove a door and see what's involved, because we can't replace that door hardware anymore with the exact same thing. So we were going to do a little bit of investigation on that. And then we had an issue where a vehicle ran into the vestibule. So that yes, it ran in so far as to there was a spigot near the interior side of the vestibule, and that broke it right off. So half of the exterior. The original arrangement of the doors, they're all 30-inch doors. So we actually have to take that measurement set. These doors are not aligned with these here. This shows different what I did in this package to have the appropriate egress allowance. So I took a look at all those rooms that exit out the lobby stuff. This project will include new exit signs over there. Exit signs, they fluoresce when the lights.
So you just wipe up.
Should be able to.
Hold on. There you go.
So what we're proposing to do is to go with a 36-inch door and mimic what is there, but obviously we can't go back to the area. So from the sign area down to both we propose to put a set of doors in that are also steel, both ways. We will add the vertical trim pieces and metal stack players, and we'll also add other issues with the door. As you can see down here, doors fit so close that sometimes in the wintertime or even in the spring, those hinges a little bit and the doors get stuck. They don't close automatically. Outside. National Grid obviously has higher security to protect the grid. These are all hard access doors. The door being stuck in an open position is not good. They actually have a system where the guard station very high. If there is an issue, these doors quite often down, whatever, guard can actually click a button and these doors will lock if they get locked. So that has buttons in redoing the it will allow a lot of all of these doors originally both inside and outside and without the hinges being seen, just pivots. People don't know which side to push on. I've made the mistake myself and I know better. So with the panic hardware, people will be able to the other thing to consider is kind of taking advantage of vision because this whole area, and I hope hinges are so badly rusted that one of them came off, I think, during the collision. Other ones are taped up with glazing. Both the north side vestibule, we like to replace all of those. Strange metal, it's not really strange steel, we're not quite sure it is.
Yeah, if you keep going, actually, the photographs are in there. Yeah. You can make it larger. Oh, yeah.
Of the existing condition before the collision. And these are the vertical members that I was talking about, and they have the card access in here. Existing condition, the stainless steel bars, the finish has been torn off of them. And I had already talked about, because of the horizontal bars, it's very confusing as to which end to push on. And this shows the condition of the stainless steel, which is hooded. Another photo. I know that this can be polished, but with the stuff that we use in upstate New York. And this is a close-up of, we will be taking from here on down. Replace it, we'll leave the original Niagara Mohawk collar sign. This was right after the vehicle collision, and it shows the damage and the trim. This is actually a good example. I was not proposing to replace that on the interior, but if you would prefer, we could do that. This shows the black glazing. Oh, this is a good example of the windows, the light covers that we plan to, you can see they've covered some of the stuff up with duct tape. So that was going to be replaced as is. And there's a close-up of that light cover.
And all that work will be replaced in kind, you're saying? That top spandrel?
Yes, we'll leave these as is, but they're, we'll probably polish them up, clean them up a little bit. But the hinges along here are so badly damaged. And this light to the outside actually lights the Niagara Mohawk sign outside. And then on the other side of the vestibule, it mimics it, but it only lights the inside of the vestibule. And this shows some examples. That's the spigot that it had right next to the inside that broke off. That glazing was already cracked before the collision. And we'll leave the grills as is.
Terrazzo's in good shape as well?
It is, yep, we'll leave that. And there's just some more examples of the cracked black glazing. It does have a frosted gradient on there. I'm not quite sure how to go back with that. I was planning on just plain black glazing, but I would match the pattern that was done on the wall.
Are all those panels, are you saying the black is glass?
It
Is glass,
I picked
okay.
up a piece of it that was cracked on the floor, so,
So you can replace that in kind?
yeah. Here's a panel that was replaced, it doesn't match the rest of them, that was done before. So, it's about a 1/4 of an inch material, a polished black corian or something that won't crack, it'll hold up for them, but I plan on matching the exact tile pattern, but not going back. I'm not quite sure how we would do that. We could certainly look into see if it can be manufactured.
Wait, so you're not coming back with glazing, you're saying corian?
Well, it will be, this is glass, some kind of glass
Right.
tile. So they do make a corian, which is black polished, which you put them side by side. I should have brought them in to show you. It looks very similar. Yes, all to match. Yep, and there's, you can see the permission in here. So, yeah, all of it would be replaced.
So your comments on the door widths, the new
Yes.
proposal, you're saying both of those leaves are 36? So
All the existing leaves are 30 inches.
Correct,
So
and-
we're going back with all 36.
all 36, so that center door opening, right, you have 3 sets of doors, that center door opening, those posts will be pushed out 6 inches either side, so that's going to be a wider central opening
Yes.
for
Yes.
the operation of both 36-inch leaf
Yes.
door set.
Yeah.
How does that articulate, excuse me, with the articulation pattern going up the central tower? Because that rhythm of 3 is carried up vertically
a-
for 2 or 3 stories?
Actually, I have a good example of
As- That's my primary concern is this, we have these 60-inch openings, and now we're going to go 72-inch opening, and how does that? Mm-hmm.
So this is off a little bit with the canopy. I
Correct.
think because of the recess, you're really not
Mm-hmm.
with this canopy, we're keeping that whole. There's nothing else out there that's
So you've got the articulation here in the fenestration.
So this is going to be off a little bit by 6 inches, but I think this canopy.
Is enough of a break. Did you give any thought to your treatment to the right and left panels to have a 36-inch panel and then a smaller panel, like a 28-inch or a 24-inch to keep that historic width? And so you have one operable ADA compliant door in the center?
Yes, I
I
did.
mean, it throws off the rhythm of the symmetry, but it keeps the rhythm of the verticality. And in this building's all about vertical expression, so. Well, to keep, well, just, board, please jump in, but if we kept the 60-inch opening and we made a 36-inch panel and then a 14-inch panel or 18-inch panel to fill that 60-inch void. And so you've kept the historic alignment of the mullions between the door openings, right? So that
If I'm
keeps the
understanding,
alignment.
what you're
But
saying
then you
is
still
that,
meet ADA compliance.
well, you can, with closers, can meet it. The question is also exiting in terms of the door width, because you can't reduce it in width. What the original is based on the occupancy of the building, but if I'm understanding what Jeff is saying is keep the 30-inch leaves in the center because it's so central to the the verticality of the building in terms of the alignment of those pilasters each side of the door, the frame, and have enlarged leaves on either side. Well, they would remain the same size that they are now. Right. Right. Well, yeah, understood, but in this building. Right. And the other comment that I'll make in terms of the hardware on the doors, I understand about, you know, the pivot closers, they are a pain, especially in this environment, and so you're gonna end up using hinges. Oh, you're gonna do continuous hinges, okay. I guess I would wanna understand how we could keep at least the push bars on the outside with your panic on the inside, so that the design is retained. Because I think that's a major change in terms of the detail on those doors, is the push bars. And in terms of facilitating exiting, you know, using a narrow line panic hardware basically in between or in alignment with one of those push bars would retain the aesthetic from the outside.
Right.
And I guess all these comments would be the same for the interior doors if you're changing that out. Right. Those would be open, right. Okay.
I mean, in those horrors, everything here is like high design, extreme design, and just the horizontal lines. It's like energy moving horizontally through the building. The clouding on the black panels is energy moving through the building. Like, all that is symbolism that is all tied into the great power of Niagara Mohawk, right? So the retention of these seemingly small details impacts the entirety of this design, of this building. So I think trying to maintain openings, details, all in this space, it's pertinent.
And if you can bring in a sample and give it to Kate in terms of what the replacement, I'm understanding the light glazing interior you're replacing in kind, but if you're changing material, you need to look at what that material is for the interior in place of the glazing, the black glazing.
I'm just incredibly leery about making any changes to this building, especially when it comes to the steel. My understanding is much of the steel in this building was fabricated at Crucible. So not only is this building a symbol of the city, it is literally built with steel from the city, as far as I know. And so, I understand it might not look great, but there has to be a way to polish it and bring it back. I just feel like that's a whole other level of sort of destruction of an iconic building. Yeah. Okay. And that leads to my other question. We haven't talked about it yet, but why are we replacing the signage? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm new to this whole. So
right now it's neon lights, and there is a lighting project to replace all of the lights on there with LED. So what they're planning on doing with this is doing LED with backlighting. So it's kind of a halo effect. I do have this is all a 3-inch box that would house the wiring, and then there's a 2-inch standoff, and then the lettering is actually 3 inches. So with the LED backlighting, that's what it would kind of look like as an example. So both this would be, they're trying to replace it in kind, Erie Boulevard, and the same is proposed for extension. I'm sorry if I didn't explain that. I'm not the electrical designer. We couldn't get him represented here to explain that a little bit better. Other than the neon lighting as opposed to the LED.
So is the lettering, existing lettering staying?
That is all.
All of
being
that's
taken
being
in
removed.
place. So the size would be the same.
Why? I just
well,
don't understand why, I mean, I didn't know this isn't necessarily
It's-
your area,
right.
but I just don't, I can't fathom why they want to change the signage. There's no reason to do this.
I don't think they function at this point in time. Again, I'm not sure.
There's someone to fix the neon.
Okay.
I've done that. I can have people fix neon signs. There's a guy
Yeah.
over in East Syracuse.
Yeah, it seems like the most well-known building in the city and a very important piece of it.
Right.
And I can't imagine, it seems like we could find someone to fix the neon signs.
I would agree.
I can't in good conscience, support that.
Yeah, I don't think that, it sounds like the balance of the board really is not in favor of changing the existing signage.
Just fix the fluorescent. Okay.
And I would agree that, for the stainless steel, where the door was damaged beyond repair, I understand that we have to replace, but where it's pitted from the pictures, it doesn't look like it's pitted that bad. It has some rust spots. There are companies out there that can do that. I've done it with bronze, where from salt and, inclement weather, there's been, discoloration and so forth, and they're able to bring it back. The key is to maintain it. So you have to continually do that over time and not just let it go.
So I guess I'm a little confused because we talked about a replacement with.
Well, replacement of
two-
what you have to replace that cannot be,
This is full
Reconfigure.
replacement of both sets of vestibule doors.
well, we've just talked about the center doors and maintaining where the center door is damaged.
And I would have to keep the pivots, which are not functional. I'm not,
Yeah, it's a full-blown replacement.
and if we do new
You
and
could take out the
restoration,
pivots.
then the finishes probably would not match. It would be different coloration in the stainless steel. I think that's why I was taking the whole chunk out so that all the stainless steel would match. And as you, then you go to the Niagara Mohawk sign, which is a different material.
I guess what I was saying before is if we can maintain the two leaves in the center, if those are not damaged, you can still take out the pivots and put them on continuous hinge, if that's what the direction that in terms of use of the doors.
And then there's hardware replacement, so I'm going to have probably openings in the side of the doors that are not going to match the new hardware, right? Which are going to have to be patched.
We need to understand the extent of the damage, which leaves are damaged, and, what is damaged on those doors. Yeah, I see. One leaf is, well, the end leaf. 2 leaves are damaged.
Eastern door.
I guess if you could document what is damaged exactly and what can be retained, that would be my recommendation. We really need to understand, what of the fabric of the buildings is still there.
I want to say, I think we're less concerned with matching of new hardware than preserving the existing. So if it came down to we could save some of the doors and they wouldn't match the new doors, that would be a better situation. I mean, anyone can clarify if that's not the case. But.
I am concerned about the hardware. I've done hardware replacement before, and sometimes you end up with the latch not being in the same area, or it's a smaller latch. I mean, I could certainly try to match the openings. I'm not quite sure the results are going to be what we want them to be.
One of my primary concerns is saving as much of this original steel as possible, as I've already said. Not only because it's iconic to the building, but because it was made in the city of Syracuse. I mean, that's part of what makes this building so special, even if the average citizen doesn't necessarily know that. Maybe they will now. And I feel like National Grid has enough funds to match hardware if necessary, or fix old neon signs.
So we're not voting, it's basically we're making recommendations.
It's comment back to zoning, but if you're seeking additional information, if you're looking for more detail as to what can be salvaged and what absolutely needs to be replaced, then you can hold that comment open and ask for you to come back again with that information at the next meeting.
I think we should keep it open, and we'd like more information in terms of documentation of what's there, what has been damaged.
Maybe a site visit.
Pardon?
If a site visit might be helpful, if
I would
there's some.
recommend that,
Okay.
if
Yeah.
some of the board members can go over there and have a site visit with you to review the condition of.
Certainly, we could set that up.
We can. I'll work with you, Lynn, on that. On setting that up, and then we can. We'll try to do that next week so that you'll be prepared then for the following meeting.
All right,
which will be
very good.
September. Okay. Thank you so much, Lynn.
Thank you. This is a tough one.
Yeah.
Okay. Here. This is me.
I can try and figure that out.
Yeah, I mean, they need.
If you took this door, shifted over, and then make this
Okay. Are you ready for the next application, board members? Are you ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
Okay. The next application is a major site plan review. The address is 1153 Fayette Street, which is the former Light Rollway Corporation building, and proposed to be the new public safety building for the city. It is an adaptive reuse. It's listed on the National Register, and I believe this is a tax credit project as well, a rehabilitation tax credit. And do you have has your Part 2 been approved, or it's close to being approved? Or am I jumping the gun a little? So,
Go for it.
yeah.
A little background first.
We are in the approval
Can you introduce
process.
yourself?
I'm sorry, my name is Ashley Anderson with McKnight Architects.
Okay.
And yes, this project has been submitted for the SHPO approval. It is currently in review at the state level.
So, and my name is Brian Bouchard. I'm with CHA Consulting, so I'm the project engineer. So what I'll do is give you just a little bit of an overview on what the purpose of the project is and what we're planning in terms of the use and the site, and then kind of hit some of the bullet points from the part two that hopefully you've reviewed. It's very thorough. And then between myself and Ashley, we can answer any questions that you might have. So, 1153 West Fayette Street. So this is the light rollaway building. It's known as Building J. And the owner, who currently owns the property, will complete the historic renovation of the existing building and complete all the related site improvements in order to lease the facility back to the city of Syracuse pursuant to their lease agreement, which will be occupied by the city of Syracuse Police Department and Fire Department. So it's an existing 6-story building. It will remain and be rehabilitated and renovated. There are small portions of it that you noticed in the part two that will be demolished, including the deteriorated coal silo. There's also a smaller addition off the back known as the shipping and receiving area. Historically it was used for shipping and receiving. It's currently deteriorated. Then there's a small, non-historic, single-story addition off the west side of the building that'll be removed as well. Generally across the site, we're going to reconstruct the whole site for parking areas for police and fire. There'll be new building entryways and sidewalks leading from the parking areas and public way to the building. And then generally, the site is also in a brownfield cleanup program. So being the old industry here, the owner has been accepted into the brownfield cleanup program. So along from the historic renovation, we will also be completing soil remediation as part of the reconstruction of the parking lot, both outside, and then there's also some hazardous materials inside the building related to the old woodblock flooring that has to be removed. In terms of the building, I'm just going to start. I kind of, in working on this project, I found a couple news articles. I mean, it's not like very verified history, but just in case you don't know about the Light Rollaway Corporation, it started very late in the 1800s with Charles Lipe and his brother Brown Lipe. Charles Lipe went to Cornell University as a mechanical engineer. Both of them were innovators and inventors in the late 1800s. And during the craze of the bicycle, the Lipe brothers actually invented what was called the bi-gear. And as you can imagine, this bi-gear created the first 2-speed bicycle in the late 1800s, and they did that at a CE Light machine shop, which was at the corner of Geddes and West Fayette. So they were quickly eclipsed by automotive advancements, but their company and the machine shop they had very quickly transitioned to more automotive and rail car and railroad uses. So this particular building, and you also may know of Charles Lipe and his son based on the historic mansion that's up on Summit Ave in Strathmore as well. So very prominent family and industry that kind of was created in the late 1800s and into the early 1900s. Building J of what became the Light Rollaway Corporation was constructed in 1920 to manufacture roller bearings for railroad cars. And other automotive parts. And then a few decades later, as World War II started, the U.S. government actually took over 2 facilities in the city of Syracuse. One was the GE complex, and the other was Building J of the Light Rollaway Corp., which the U.S. government took over to manufacture tank components as part of the war effort there. After the war, it transitioned to Morris Distributing Company, which reopened the building in 1950 to store warehouse goods. And then since then, the building's changed hands several times as it sort of fell into disrepair. So the bullet points for the renovation of the building: repair the exterior, damaged exterior brick and concrete masonry. There's also a failed roofing system that'll be completely replaced. And then replacing all the non-historic infilled windows, largely which have been boarded up over the years, with appropriate replica windows to return it to its historic appearance. And then obviously the interior renovation that will make space for the various city departments, right? So there's all types of city departments, including police and fire, patrol, admin, crime scene. There's locker room space, there's storage space, and there's document storage. mainly private. There is a public-facing side. There's, if you notice on the site plan, there's a very small 7-space parking lot off the west side of the building. That will be the public-facing entrance where media can enter. There's a record storage room for people to do their records research. And in that public lobby, there's a small space dedicated to sort of the historic nostalgia, called the museum, but it'll probably just be some of the historic information of the building. And that area in and of itself will be reconstructed with a replica wood block flooring that we can't preserve within the building because it's considered a hazardous material and needs to be removed. So, and here's the site plan, kind of showing you the existing building to remain, the police and fire parking. This is the small parking lot with that public entrance door, and the museum space would be facing West Fayette Street. So as Ashley mentioned, there was comments from the Part 2. The revised Part 2 was submitted to SHPO, but it is being coordinated through the State Historic Preservation Office and National Park Service as far as the renovations go, and then the DEC and DOH for the brownfield cleanup program.
Did you tell us what year the Little Red building was built?
The building itself was built in 1920.
Okay, that one.
Steel shed you're talking about?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But to clarify, the concrete formed building was 1920. The red barn, I don't remember the exact year, but it is in the period of significance for the building.
Can you locate the coal silo on the site plan? Sure. Where that?
Well, it's actually been, this is the proposed site plan, but it's right behind the building. Right next to the, what was used for shipping and receiving, that awning.
It does show in one of the photographs. Did you see it? Okay.
Coal.
Do you know the architect of the original building?
It was Mr. Khan, I believe.
I thought it was a con.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The concrete building was.
Actually, I thought from the National Register nomination, it was actually a Gagin and Gagin, if you can believe it.
Interesting.
That was built, but based
In
on
the
the
Khan
Khan's
style.
design. That's
You're
what I
right.
read.
You're right. You're right.
That based on Khan's design.
I remember seeing Khan, but you're right. It was
Yeah.
based on.
Yeah, just, there's a name that we've been hearing recently. Yeah.
I think Khan was actually the one that created the type of construction.
Correct.
That's correct, that's
That
correct. So it was
mushroom.
based
You're
on,
right.
on his technology and, yeah.
We have been talking with SHPO about the coal silo, and there's no photographs here today, but we did get a letter from the structural engineer that it is beyond repair and extremely dangerous. So we got an emergency review with SHPO to take it down, and that was approved.
Do you have
We
any
don't have the
documentation?
letters, but I could get the, if you could send
Yeah.
the
Absolutely.
emergent, that would be fine.
Yeah, I guess that was my concern, and it would be nice to keep the silo. but-
Unfortunately, it is beyond repair. But we are keeping the chimney stack.
What are the windows you're proposing?
We are proposing an aluminum steel replica in the Winco manufacturer. So there's two types of windows in this building. They're all aluminum replica windows. But on the first floor of the building, we are using ballistic glazing for the safety of the police force. So the sight lines of those windows are going to be slightly wider than the rest of the building.
And this is based on historic prototype?
Yes, there are actually a few windows left in the building that we were able to replicate. None of them are salvageable, but there are a few remaining.
Like steel windows?
They are steel.
So we're replacing with aluminum?
But we are matching the
On the upper
fenestration
floor.
pattern.
Wait, to understand, just to be clear, on the upper floors, you're replacing with aluminum frame,
They're all aluminum framed,
and
yes.
on the first floor,
They're still aluminum frame, but the sight line is going to be slightly thicker.
they're
It needs to hold the ballistic glass, yes.
comment?
Yeah, no, this looks good. Your proportions with window infill is great. Maintaining all historic openings, it seems. You're matching material for the most part, like what we like to see.
We are going to paint the barn, and we did not mention that. We're going to paint it in a dark gray, but it's just going to remain with just a roof replacement.
You're gonna repaint the concrete structure as well?
Yes,
And matching, it'd be all uniform colors?
correct.
Additional comment? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great project. Thank you.
Okay, the last, just quickly, under discussion correspondence, well, just to bring everyone up to speed, since our last meeting, I can't actually remember, had the planning commission already met to discuss 727? Okay. And then last Thursday, there was a committee meeting of the Common Council's Economic Development Committee. And when there was some additional, or not additional, there was some additional information provided at that meeting, and Jeff was there to stand in for the Landmark Preservation Board, so thank you, Jeff, for being there.
Thank you.
And Bob, were you there as well? I wasn't sure if you...
Just as a
As
spectator.
okay.
Moral support.
Yes, Jeff did a wonderful job.
Yeah. So I thank you both.
I would have been there if I could, but I was double booked.
The Common Council will be, presumably, it will be before the Common Council at the next agenda, which is a week from Monday, I believe.
I think it
So.
was the 3rd?
Yeah, I
September 3rd.
believe that's correct. So, and then I did just want to mention, at our last meeting, I had reported that Councilors Monto and Williams had requested that the LPB consider a potential district along Comstock. And I met with, or we had a call, a couple representatives of fraternity or Greek houses. They had some very reasonable questions about what a preservation district would look like or what it would mean for them. And I'm following up with them on some of the specifics. And definitely, there's definitely some interest. There's definitely some questions. I think that one of the things that was mentioned during that, or I know that one of the things that was mentioned during our conversation was that it's not only Comstock, but that section of Comstock that has this particular, what do I want to say, sort of significance. It's also the Walnut Park area, as well as turning the corner on Ostrom, and at least one house, I believe, on University, or no, College Place, I think, around the corner. So, I have not gone very far with the evaluation. I was out of commission for a couple of weeks, but I am. This will be something that I'll continue and hope to have more information for you at the next meeting. Yeah.
Can I kind of add to that as we're making these historic districts and so forth? And I think we've all kind of talked about it. I don't know if we need to add this to the agenda and so forth. This is about, when we're having these, districts or any properties that are in Syracuse now, that there's some kind of communication around the individual owners, and then what does those, kind of what those responsibilities are, and as we go forward. So, in a sense, we're putting ourselves out of business, that we're not having a lot of discussions about demo or taking things that are out historically. I think we should start to begin to have some of those conversations to see where it could go.
That you're talking about so that I understand, that you're talking about communications with the property
Mainly
owners.
about
Yeah, and
communication
making
about
sure
these
that
properties that
people
are
understand what their
historic, yeah.
responsibilities are.
Yeah.
And that is a key component, especially for, well, any
know if it's a
local
legislative stuff.
designation, because of the responsibilities of the property owner. And that is what their concerns were too. The folks
Yeah.
that I was speaking to, understanding that there's real value in the preservation and the history of
Right,
these properties,
exactly.
but what does it actually mean when you become a preservation district in terms of,
Exactly.
of the review and so
And I
forth?
think that in the past, there has been some reach to the realtors, particularly for, the Cedric district,
Yep.
as well as the Berkeley, in terms of homeowners, prospective homeowners, understanding that they're moving into or
Right.
buying a property within a historic district and their impact.
Right, the impact
Yeah.
of it is
Yeah.
the
And in the past, we've sent out, we used to do postcards
But letters,
Yeah.
letters and postcards, yeah.
out
Yeah.
to residents within districts to make
Yep.
them aware, hey, there's restrictions on exterior changes, or there's monies available through
Yes,
these types of
exactly.
grants.
And, outside of that, even,
Yep.
areas where it may not be a whole district, but it may be a particular
That's right,
house
yeah,
and
for
so forth.
and I agree with you that having owners, and this came up obviously the last meeting with the property
Right.
on Geddes Street,
Yeah,
South Geddes.
exactly, and that's,
Yep, absolutely.
seems like a logical follow
Yep, Yeah.
of this as we're having these discussions.
I agree.
Okay, do I have a motion to close the meeting? To adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. Third. All right.
Motion passed.
All right, good job.
With the sunglasses.
So my last chance to get in this building again is probably now.